Hi, and welcome to This Week in East Brunswick, the Township's own weekly news and information program. Tonight we'll join Ken Shalhoub, host of Let's Talk Health, in a conversation with past Township Council President Jerry O'Connor. Ken and Jerry discuss municipal issues past and present in this retrospective, which will be shown in its entirety later this month. On Health Facts, Dr. Barbara Evans, Chief of the Division of Developmental and Behavioral Pediatrics at Robert Wood Johnson Medical School, speaks about spina bifida. On Consumer Aware, Adrian Eisner offers advice on finding qualified income tax assistance. We'll wrap up with our Township Council review. But first, we'll take a look at what's on Channel 8 next week. At 10 a.m. Monday morning, Julius Bellafronte of Julius Scissor demonstrates hairstyle and care for the active person on Look Great, Feel Great. Exercise with Lenore Kulik follows her interview with Julius. At 10:30, it's Stories for the Children, read by Teen Library Corps volunteers. Also for the kids, on Tuesday night at 7 p.m., the Libraries of Middlesex County presents folk singers on Kids Stuff. At 7:30 Tuesday night, John Megliaro interviews two very special guests on Sports Talk. He speaks with world champion hurdler Ronaldo Nehemiah and his coach, Gene Poquet. At 8 p.m., Ken Shalhoub interviews past Council President Jerry O'Connor for a Township Council retrospective. On Wednesday afternoon at 3, Carol Phillips meets with local youngsters for Stories from the Library. At 7:30 Wednesday evening, Dolly Vasta shares a laugh with stand-up comedian Rick Siegel, a one-time resident and graduate of East Brunswick High School who now tours nationally. We'll return with a new edition of This Week in East Brunswick on Thursday night at 7 and 8 p.m. and 8:30, it's About East Brunswick with the Mayor. Past Township Council President Jerry O'Connor graciously consented to meet in our studio with Ken Shalhoub on February 4th for a look back at his years as councilman. Here's a portion of that half-hour interview.
There were a lot of big issues and still are a lot of big issues in East Brunswick, and I'm sure that they're going to continue to be big for a number of years. Seems like a lot of those issues that you had to deal with came up late in your second term of office. What were some of those issues, and what do you feel your impact was?
Well, first let me say that you're right. They all seemed to come at one time. There were major issues that seemed to crop up and needed to be solved within the last 2 to 3 years. If we weren't dealing with Tower Center, we were dealing with the New Riders Lane, we were dealing with Mount Laurel and development. Yeah, all those issues occurred in a very short period of time. But to name those issues, I suppose the first issue that we had to deal with and resolve was the mandate by the New Jersey Supreme Court on the Mount Laurel issue, which basically requires that a township must provide zoning for low and moderate income homes.
This is throughout the state of New Jersey?
This is throughout, certainly 23 municipalities in Middlesex County, and yes, it is affecting many other states and many other portions of the state. There are portions of the state that are not affected, like the Pinelands. I mean, that's a preservation area. So not every portion of the state is affected, but certainly those that are developing are affected by the Jersey Supreme Court ruling. So we had to deal with that issue. And that meant, of course, that we had to provide, and I say had to because it was a court-mandated order. And we do not look lightly on our obligation to fulfill the requirements of the law, and that's why we did it. But we did make sure that the township was zoned to accommodate the kinds of housing that the Supreme Court said that we had to accommodate, and that meant thousands of homes, the kinds of homes that none of us are used to seeing in East Brunswick. We're used to seeing the sprawling ranch, the sprawling colonial on a 3rd-acre lot. Obviously, that is not true anymore, and neither is it true in many other communities, Old Bridge, Monroe. I think if any resident were to drive around the area, the region, he would find that that's true. We just don't see the kinds of homes anymore that we're used to seeing.
Where are some of the areas where the Mount Laurel housing has taken place?
As I mentioned, Ken, is Monroe, South Brunswick, Plainfield, most of the Middlesex County communities, save for Jamesburg, even they have had to provide some numbers of homes, or zoning for numbers of homes. however small it may be. Of course, we were affected much more because of the size of the community and our relationship to the Turnpike. It's a growing community, and that's where the state Supreme Court seemed to have zeroed in on. So we were faced with the Mount Laurel decision, which we had to resolve, and then, of course, with development, and development came when the economy became a little better, when interest rates came down, and people could borrow money, and they could go out and buy the home that we zoned for. That created certainly the climate for developers to build the homes that we had zoned for. Of course, when you build homes, you create traffic. And again, that's something else that we hadn't seen in many, many years, is the amount of traffic that we see today. We had to resolve that, and that meant widening roads, building new roads, a la Riders Lane, which I think is, in my own personal opinion, probably one of the better roads that exists in the township or anywhere else in the region today.
And that's not complete yet, right? I mean, isn't there more work that's going to be done further down on Riders Lane?
Yeah, when I say the new Riders Lane, I'm speaking now about that which is currently just been opened, and the county is going to expand Riders Lane further down, as you say, from Tice's Lane on up to Route 1. So that will be widened to somewhat the same degree that the new Riders Lane is right now. And I guess eventually, long term, the desire would be to fill in the middle part, or to widen the middle part. But that is going to be a huge, huge problem, because it means taking of lots of property from private individuals. But anyway, that is something that we had to deal with. We had to provide a road for the traffic to flow through the township quickly and efficiently. Otherwise, Ruse Lane, as everybody knows, was a bottleneck that was hours and hours getting through each evening during the rush hour, and of course in the morning as well. I have to say that I'm pretty proud of Riders Lane, because when I became council president, that was one of the things I put on the agenda early on, to make sure that that road was built before I left office, or have been fortunate enough to have been reelected. But nevertheless, it's something I'm very proud of. I think it's something we needed, and perhaps it may provide the impetus for widening some other roads, Cranberry Road, Dunham's Corner Road, which has been widened incidentally a little bit. Brunswick Avenue needs to be widened. I think that's on the books as well. So roads was another one. And we also had a third issue that was a huge issue, and that was Tower Center. One of the things that the Democratic administration, myself included, wanted to do years ago was to remove some of the tax burden from residential homeowners and move it on to private corporations. And the only way that we could do that would be to provide a way for commercial development to expand on Route 18. There really is no other place in the township that we can talk about huge amounts of commercial development. Tower Center, the area which Tower Center is being built right now, was rezoned to accommodate a high structure building. And I think that we were extremely fortunate to get AT&T to be the first tenant in the tower that exists right now. As most folks know, the second tower will be finally constructed in the order of 1.5 to 2 years from now. And attached to that building will be a major hotel and also a 1,000 commuter parking garage.
Jerry, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
The rap against Tower Center, and my opinion on it is, I feel that you don't stop progress, and I've always liked big buildings, so I think it's kind of neat when I drive down a turnpike. Right. But the rap on Tower Center is that Route 18 can't handle the traffic, okay? And you can't argue with that.
Right.
What was the coordination between the construction of the Tower Center and the future widening, if you will, or whatever, of Route 18?
Well, the only way, the coordination, Ken, was that the planning board knew that a double tower center, if you will, if it were developed on Route 18 without any widening, would be an absolute chaotic condition. The only way, and the constraints that were put on the developer, was that he had to widen Route 18, and it is being widened right now. He had to provide jug handles for access to the turnpike. He had to be able to provide, through the state's help, a second bridge over the Lawrence Brook, which is currently being built. Now, that is a horrendous traffic jam right now. But when that second bridge is finished, which should be in the order of a year, it is going to free up the bottleneck on 18 that has existed for many, many years.
That's right, before the Tower Center, actually.
Before the completion of the second tower, and before the completion of the hotel, and before the completion of the garage. So that second bridge will be great for the township. They'll be able to move through Route 18 onto Route 1, back and forth pretty freely. So you couple that improvement, which will take place, couple that with Riders Lane, couple that with some widening of Cranberry Road, some major intersection work in the township that will take place in the next several years. I think that what the Democrats had in mind as far as their plan for the township to free up traffic is something that is going to be a benefit in the future.
Again, this show can be seen in its entirety Tuesday, February 10th at 8 p.m. and Saturday, February 14th at 1 p.m.
For more than 20 years, Middlesex County College has been a leader in providing our community with lifelong educational opportunity. We look forward to another 20 years of service and educational excellence for the people of Middlesex County.
And now for Health Facts with Dr. Barbara Evans, Chief of the Division of Developmental and Behavioral Pediatrics at the Robert Wood Johnson Medical School.
Spina bifida is the second most common birth defect. It occurs in approximately 1 out of every 2,000 births. It is the most complex medical problem which is compatible with life. The name spina bifida means a failure of fusion of the fetus's backbones during pregnancy. So the infant is born with a defect or opening in the back. The opening or sac can occur anywhere along the spinal column, but it is usually in the lower back. The sac usually contains nervous system components and is therefore also called a myelomeningocele. Abnormalities in the formation of the nervous system are not limited to the back defect. The fluid system of the brain can be poorly draining. Therefore, enlargement of the ventricular system can occur. The ventricles of the brain are normally quite small, but when there is a blockage in the cerebrospinal flow, the condition called hydrocephalus, popularly known as water on the brain, can occur. The child becomes irritable, crying, and has vomiting and severe headache. This condition constitutes a medical emergency, and the children are usually shunted. That is, a tube is placed between the ventricle and the abdomen so the naturally forming fluid can drain off. Unfortunately, this complication is not limited to infants and young children. Even adults with spina bifida can suddenly develop too much pressure from blocked ventricles and require shunting. It was the introduction of the shunting procedure that revolutionized the treatment of spina bifida, so that now most individuals with this disease survive and have normal intelligence. Many orthopedic problems occur. Since the spinal column cannot do its work, that is, support the body, patients regularly develop curvatures of the spine, such as scoliosis or kyphosis. The pelvis and lower extremities can be deformed. This can be as minor as in-toeing when the child walks, or it can be as severe as having shriveled and paralyzed legs. Depending on the degree of involvement, many operations, braces, crutches, and wheelchair usage may become necessary. The nerves of the bladder and bowel are almost always affected. Chronic bowel and bladder accidents are common. Poorly controlled nerves at the neck of the bladder will keep urine backed up and cause recurrent urinary tract infections and chronic renal disease. It takes a team of well-trained specialists and therapists to care for a patient with spina bifida. We have such a multidisciplinary team at Middlesex General University Hospital, where the doctors from Rutgers Medical School provide service for the spina bifida program. A consortium of services for the spina bifida patient is currently being solidified. It includes St. Peter's Medical Center for perinatal services, Middlesex General University Hospital for all medical care, and John F. Kennedy Medical Center for rehabilitative services. For additional information about the spina bifida program, you can call the medical director at 937-7895. Spina bifida is a rapidly changing disease entity. In less than 20 years, most individuals born with what was considered a fatal condition are now living productive lives. Prenatal counseling, improved pregnancy management, improved and early diagnostic techniques, and improved surgical techniques have changed dramatically the course of this disorder.
I'm sure that most of you got, in fact, I'm sure that everyone got a copy of East Brunswick Today, and in it is an article on the Goldman's Newark Dance Theater, and they're going to be performing at the East Brunswick High School. Now, it's in celebration of Black History Month, and it's being sponsored by the East Brunswick Arts Commission and the East Brunswick Schools Cultural Council. It will be on Saturday night, February 21st at 8 o'clock. That's February 21st at 8 o'clock. And then we have a snow date for the following day, February 22nd, which is a Sunday at 3 o'clock. This is a fabulous black dance troupe, and it's called the Goldman's Newark Dance Theater. Because we have a grant from the state, the tickets are really at a marvelous price. Students and seniors $2.50 and adults $4. Now, the tickets have just been finished, and they're at my office, up in the Arts Coordinator's office at the Municipal Building. You can call me at 390-6825. Don't miss this troupe. Alfred Gallman, who founded this troupe, was a member of the Alvin Ailey troupe, and this is an offshoot of the Alvin Ailey troupe. It's a marvelous dance group. I have seen them, and I'm telling you, you're in for a treat. Well, that's about the end of this week in East Brunswick as far as the arts line goes. I'll be back with you in a couple of weeks, and in the meantime, take care.
Hello, and welcome to Consumer Aware. I'm Adrienne Eisner, Director of the East Brunswick Consumer Affairs Office. Who will prepare your tax returns this year? Although this is a subject most of us like to postpone thinking about, it is wise to get started early and avoid the last-minute rush. Approximately 38% of all taxpayers hire someone to do their taxes for them. Whether or not you pay for assistance, you are still responsible for making sure that your taxes are prepared accurately and sent in on time. The quality and price of tax preparation services can vary greatly. If you decide you need assistance, you should shop around to find the preparer best for you. There are several types of tax preparers. An enrolled agent is certified by the IRS after having worked 5 years as an IRS auditor or after passing a government exam. Enrolled agents are authorized to represent you before the IRS. A certified public accountant, or CPA, has passed a professional qualifying exam. CPAs are authorized to represent you before the IRS. A public accountant may have special accounting training, but lacks certification and cannot represent you before the IRS. Some attorneys prepare tax returns and can represent you before IRS. Individuals who may have special training work for tax preparation firms. They have experience and training in preparing tax returns. To find the preparer that best suits your needs, call several and ask these important questions. What is your training or experience in preparing tax returns? The more complex your situation, the more you may wish the advice of someone with specialized experience. How do you check for accuracy? Does someone else double-check returns? If so, are they reviewed for arithmetic errors only or also for errors in tax law interpretation? Approximately how much will preparing my taxes cost, and how is that fee determined? Where can you be reached later in the year if I need help with an audit? Can you represent me if IRS audits my return, and what will you charge? When you visit the preparer, expect certain things. A preparer should go through a checklist of deductions to see if any apply to you. A preparer should also sign your return and enter his or her name and Social Security number or federal identification number. A preparer should not guarantee you a refund before completing your return, or suggest that you claim non-existent deductions or commit any other improprieties. A preparer should not ask you to sign a blank return or one completed in pencil. Gather and bring to the preparer any information or documents that might apply to your taxes, including last year's return. Remember, too much information is better than too little. After your return is prepared, check it to make sure that all the information is correct, and always maintain a copy of the return for your records. You will have an advantage if you complete your tax return early. The closer it gets to April 15th, the less time busy tax preparers have to do a thorough job for you. If you have any further questions, please contact us at the East Brunswick Consumer Affairs Office. The telephone number is 390-6954. Our office is located in the Municipal Building, and we're there Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. Thank you for joining me on Consumer Aware. See you again next week.
At Monday night's Township Council agenda meeting, citizens came out in force to complain about the council's recent decision not to forgive a $75,000 loan for Playhouse 22. Playhouse President Elliot Tabenslag pleaded with the council to reconsider its decision. Tabenslag said the $75,000 is a tiny amount compared to the huge cost of running a township, adding the money is only a fraction of what the Playhouse is worth.
And we were given $75,000, and we had every intention to pay it back. Over the years, we couldn't pay it back. We just could not. We've now put into this building $200,000 in capital improvements, plus another few $100,000 in volunteer hours.
Tabenslag was cheered on by the large crowd of Playhouse supporters that came to the meeting. Without the Playhouse, Tabenslag said the township would suffer cultural poverty.
Absolutely, there are poor people in East Brunswick, but not only money makes a person poor. A person can be struck with poverty culturally, and you want to make this community poor. 30 weeks a year, we open our doors. 30 weeks a year, we provide richness.
Despite Tabenslag's plea, the three councilmen who voted against forgiving the loan remained unswayed. Councilman Russell Walker, Joe Hudak, and William Kirk maintained that as in any business agreement, the loan should be paid back. Council President Walker said, however, that the council had no intention of closing the Playhouse. The future of Storer Cable in the township was also discussed Monday night. Director of Consumer Affairs, Adrian Eisner, told the council that Store's performance had to be evaluated. Cable franchises are periodically reviewed to determine whether their contracts should be renewed. Ms. Eisner said if the council wishes to change cable companies, a comprehensive study would have to be undertaken, and the evidence against Store would have to be undeniable. Ms. Eisner recommended that the council commission a survey to evaluate Store. She added more than 8,500 households in East Brunswick now pay for the service. The council also discussed the cost of forming a health department in town. Business Administrator Gregory Fehrenbach reported on other communities that fund such programs. He said the health department in Piscataway costs that township's taxpayers more than $230,000 a year. But Councilman Joe Hudak said he was working on a plan that would cost East Brunswick about $85,000 a year. The fate of the Turnpike's expansion was also brought up. Councilman Jack Sinagra said he would meet with Turnpike Authority Chairman Bo Sullivan in hopes of coming to a better agreement.
If somebody said, asked me, should we spend $2 billion on widening the Turnpike, I'd have my reservations, okay, about spending that kind of money. However, that is not the issue facing us. The issue facing us is whether we litigate or whether we settle. If we can find a settlement that is more palatable and fairer to the residents of East Brunswick, I will strive to reach that. I will not make any settlement. I will go there, I will negotiate. It will be up to these gentlemen. The same process, there will be a public hearing. I have heard all your input. I've sat through your speeches and everyone else's, and I understand your concerns. But I have no idea what's going to come out of this meeting. Quite possibly nothing. Depends on the willingness of the Turnpike to settle. And our determination that if they don't bend, that we will pursue all our legal rights.
The council did not say what it would specifically ask for from the Turnpike Authority. That's all for this week. Thanks for watching.